And it just was a great evening, so it was a lot of fun to kind of watch our kids showcase themselves. As far as athletics go, if you've not heard, we are the new state champions in volleyball. And beyond words, Saturday night, watching those girls do what they did. And they played as a full team, and it was not just like one or two leaders of this group. They all pitched in. They worked so hard, and they won, and it was amazing. So much fun to watch. We had a lot of kids there, and it was just a great evening and a great day to be a Pacer. So thank you to anyone who was there, and I think our community really got behind our volleyball team and helped them perform that night. So it was a lot of fun. If anyone wants to see the big board, it's in the office right now. We do have our recognition assembly coming up next Thursday, and during that time we will have not only OSA coming to give the trophy to our girls in front of the student body. It's a time when we recognize all of our kids in the arts, in music, in athletics for what's happened thus far in school. It also is a time when LOHI will be here, Cindy Schubert, their principal, to award us with the oar. And the oar is a Battle of the Lake type of artifact that was supposed to go back and forth between the two schools, but they've actually had it for the last 10 years, so I think people kind of forgot about it. But it will be coming back, and she will be delivering it to our student body and president on next Thursday, so that's going to be a fun assembly for our kids. We also have had great seasons this fall in all of our sports. Actually, they've gone far in the playoffs, including water polo, which was 8th in the state. Our soccer teams battled really hard and had to go up against some really tough teams early on. And then, of course, we still have football, and that is tonight against Southridge, the Battle of the Ridges. And, that is a great game as well, so please come out and support our Pacers. We also have some things coming up. Right now, we're in the middle of our musical, and if you have not seen our musical, please come. You can still go tonight. You can go see Saturday night. And so there's only 2 more opportunities. It is fabulous, absolutely fabulous. And it's so much fun to see a whole different group of kids be showcased. And this is great singers and dancers, and it's really quite funny. It's How to Succeed in Business Without Even Trying. Somewhat of a sexist musical if you've seen the original, but he's changed it up a little bit to make it more lighter spirited, and has done a really good job with that. So it's a lot of fun. Please come to it. We also have next week our dance showcase. So our dance team will be performing on Thursday and Friday evening. If you're interested in tickets, there's signs all around. You can get those at our front desk as well. And then lastly, I just want to let you know we just finished our food drive. Our food drive, they did better than they ever have, and they're actually still pushing really hard because they wanted to get to 25,000 so Dr. Hoppus would dye her hair blue. And they're so close that they did the last push yesterday, and they really think that they can get there today. So as of yesterday, we had like 18,000. And as of today, they're really hoping that we're at this 25,000 number, and she will get her hair done. So that should be very interesting. But to just give you kind of an idea of what that's looked like, in the past, we raised 3,000 cans. So the idea that we're at 18,000 or 25,000, I mean, this is a very spirited group of kids this year at Lakeridge, and they are taking everything all the way. It is so much fun to watch. So sports fields, dance plays, and just philanthropy, they are all in, and that has been an amazing work to be a part of it. Yeah.
Can I just plug the spirit team, cheer team? We have sophomores, freshmen, maybe all state
Absolutely.
This weekend. I just didn't see it anywhere, so I have to say congrats to those people.
Yes, we did. Yes, and they did. And our cheerleaders, at my SAC meetings, I always kind of do these predictions. I actually think they're going to win state this year. Our cheerleaders are amazing. Anyone who has seen what they're doing at even the games, I mean, they are serious athletes who are tumbling, and I mean, they're good. And they're putting in more time than I think a lot of people realize. And they're here every day till wee hours of the night working out. And it's not just cheerleading. They have tumbling practice, and then they have lifting practice. And they just have a lot going on. So they're doing an amazing job. And also, if those of you who probably heard, we just had 3 of our swimmers sign during break. So we have one going to Iowa, one Vanderbilt, and one Western Colorado. So they were up signing their NCAA letters during break. So we're on fire, and you're a part of it. So thank you, and keep up the good work, and thanks for supporting Lakeridge.
Thanks.
Before
before Lee starts, a quick another plug about Can Drive. It ends today. So before you leave, for every $1 you contribute, it counts as 3 cans to get Hoppus's hair blue. So I'm happy to be the collector of your money, cash or check, to just take it down there if you want to boost the kids' numbers before you go.
Anyone just wants to write a check for $1,000 will be good.
Well, welcome to November. I don't know if, No Shave November. I see you're all on board with me. Yes. Oh, by the way, I was walking through the main office the other day. What is it with these, like, No Shave November? I'm walking through the office and a student stops me a couple Fridays ago and said, "Oh, Mr. Brown, Flannel Friday, cool." Right? I said, "Oh, I had no idea. I'm right on track. Flannel Friday, I can do that every Friday." I talked to my daughter a couple of weeks ago and she had Transformation Tuesday. Anybody heard about those things? Transformation, apparently it's like those Snapchat things, and for some reason she had labeled it Transformation Tuesday. So her transformation was, she took her senior picture and she married it with her dorky freshman photo, right? And that was her Transformation Tuesday. So I'm just trying to get as many of these accumulated as I possibly can, because I think I'm a lot cooler if I know what all of those are. But what's really cool about November is applications. Application due dates, November 1st and November 15th. How many senior parents are in here? Yeah, a few of you. So just so that you, younger parents, know what's going on, the Common Application went through a revision this year and there have been a multitude of problems. So a lot of the colleges have extended their deadline for November. They look like November 8th-ish kind of stuff. So when that happens, it doesn't decrease the anxiety of this process, it actually increases it, because students are trying to get their material out, it's not working, they're missing something, where's it going? So November 1st has been extended, and now we're at the November 15th deadline. So the November 15th deadline actually for Lakeridge students has been a lot slower than our November 1st deadline. It's always interesting to look at classes here at Lakeridge because it ebbs and flows depending on what your students decide to do in terms of their application process. November 1st can be incredibly busy. I think on average, the counselors wrote 30 letters for each of their alphas for the November 1st deadline. So when you look at the November 15th deadline, I think we're about at 10 additional letters for the November 15th deadline. So about 40 in each alpha applying early. And those are for schools that require letters of recommendation. Those don't include schools like the University of Oregon or Oregon State for their early or priority filing deadlines. So a lot of stuff coming out of our office. I noticed on Jim's post that I think that the number was 43%, somewhere around there. If you looked at that daily, the percentage of students applying to colleges in this senior class will go up daily because we're sending out applications on a daily basis now. And by the way, thank you for your help again. I know this is redundant, but I can't say it enough, for your help with the college visitations here on campus. Because again, we just cannot accommodate the colleges when they visit us. We can't meet with them individually, meaning counselors. We just don't have the time to do that. So your participation in that, you making them feel welcome, is huge. I did have a conversation with one of the reps who came, who felt like he was being undervalued a little bit because the counselors didn't have time to meet with him. And the reason he felt that way wasn't necessarily because we didn't meet with him, but because he didn't have any students assigned to him. Nobody signed up, and he didn't feel like we advertised enough. At which point I let him know exactly what we did, and he asked me a very interesting question: did I know anything about his campus? And I had the opportunity to tell him that actually I visited his campus with my own son, and that we'd gone through that process. So it was a nice in-your-face kind of moment for me. I felt really justified in telling him that he was completely mistaken about how we advertise his school in a very nice Lakeridge kind of way, you know, so that he felt welcome and accepted. But just to let him know that we do advertise on a regular basis, that we do our best to try to get our students in front of every admissions officer. We try to give them as much information as we possibly can, which is a good segue into what I'm about ready to talk about, which is our junior conferences. Next week we have our junior conferences for all the juniors at Lakeridge. They will receive this document. So we have our college planning guide that goes home with each and every junior. If you have a junior or you know someone who has a junior, please let them know that they may stop by the counseling office at any time and collect a college planning guide. It's also online. So if you want to view this online, you just click on the home page under counseling. It's there under the college planning guide. It's a valuable resource because, again, the college search process is not rocket science. A lot of it is just common sense. When you open up the college guide, the first portion of it is simply a search process. If you pull up any college search engine online, you're going to find the same pieces, the same components that are here. A lot of you and some of your students will like having things written down, so we encourage students to go through those worksheets and really spend some time thinking about them. Thinking through things like the size of a school or actually the location. I like to pick on location because a lot of students, when they think of location, they're not thinking of cost. But if you go to school at Whitman, the cost to be in that community is a lot different than if you're at Whittier in LA. So looking at location solely and looking at cost and marrying the two gives them a better understanding of what they might be considering when they're considering the overall cost of their education. Does that make sense? So there's a worksheet at the beginning. There's a lot of other information in here. It varies from NCAA information, SAT, ACT, SAT2 information, all kinds of good stuff in here. I encourage you to grab it from your juniors, sit down with them, go through it. If you have questions, now's the time to stop in and talk to your counselor about the college search process. You don't want to delay. They should start this in earnest. They should start picking it up. They don't have to visit every college on the face of the planet. They just need to start thinking about it in earnest, moving in the direction of identifying schools that they may want to consider. One of the most important components to that is testing, because as students look through the college search process and they're considering their junior calendar, testing is a huge component of that. The college search process, especially when you marry it with their Naviance program that we'll cover again next week in their junior conferences, Naviance gives them the potential application due dates. So if you're thinking in terms of testing, how many opportunities will my student potentially have to complete those tests prior to the application due date? So as they're looking at colleges, I'd encourage them to look at the application due dates so they know what that testing season will look like for them. And again, anytime you have any questions about that, please feel free to give your counselor, your student's counselor a call, and we'd be happy to go through that. One last piece I wanted to share with you. If you've ever been in one of these meetings with me or you heard me talk about U.S. News and World Report, I'm not a fan. I'm just not a fan of the U.S. News and World Report. I think it causes more apprehension and anxiety and problems as you go through that piece, wondering if your school that your student is finding or identifying is a quality school, if it's a good school. We have a piece here that we received from a college newsletter that I think speaks to that directly. The U.S. News and World Report altered its assessment of colleges, but they still focus predominantly, there's still that component of SAT and ACT testing that they use that the colleges feel skews things in terms of schools being assessed and what makes a school a good school and not a good school. So all that to say that when you read an article like this, when I read an article like this, number one, it justifies my view about the U.S. News and World Report. It's a good thing to look at, but not treat as gospel truth. It's a good starting point, right, as you're looking at schools. But you want to take a look at how schools are evaluated in each report that you're looking at. Your students, your juniors, and eventually sophomores later this year will go through their Naviance search engine. It's a great search engine for them to use. This article and Lakeridge Counseling ask you to take into consideration other search engines as well. Naviance is a great tool for you to organize the search process, but it's not the end-all to be-all. So you want to take a look at Princeton Review, the College Board, and there's one other one that they list here that just slipped my mind, and hopefully I can read it because my eyes are horrible today. The College Navigator, right? The College Navigator search engine is an excellent program for your students to marry with their Naviance as they're going through this piece. They're doing the college search, trying to identify schools that they want to consider applying to. And really that's what your juniors should be doing now. looking at a number of schools, not fixating on one, but considering a number of schools that they would apply to, because as this article states, the college process should always be about not what U.S. News and World Report says, but about fit. Does a school fit your student? What is the best fit for your student? And it's not always the name brand jeans that fit best. At least they don't fit me at all. My legs are too big. What's up with that? I don't get it. So that's all I have to say about this process. Please, please, please make sure that you're talking to your student's counselor as your students are looking through this process. We'd be happy to help you.
Thanks, Lee.
Thank you. All right. Well, without further ado, I wanted to welcome Lisa Wendland, who has graciously agreed to be here to talk to us all. She has a business management degree from Santa Clara. Pulled up your bio, Lisa, wherever you are. And she got her college counseling certificate at UCLA. She works privately with students and their families as they navigate the college application process. So, Lisa, welcome.
Thank you for having me. I'm delighted to be here. I've heard so many great things about this group from many people in the community. So what I want to do is go through what I call the college planning process kind of from 100,000 feet. It will go through all components, and then I'd love to answer any questions that you have at the end. So if you can kind of hold your questions, and hopefully you'll have a lot by the time we get to the end. So here's what I kind of want to cover today. Starting with